In this video, I'm going to be explaining to you the differences between the ASICS Megablast and the ASICS Superblast 2, and I'm going to be telling you which one you need to buy for what. Okay team, so here they are, Megablast and Superblast 2, and it's the one thing that keeps coming up with these shoes now that the Megablast is here is, what's the point of the Superblast? Do I need the Superblast? Where does it all fit in and all that kind of stuff? Now we have done a video on the range of the sort of blast and I tried to explain where everything fits in. And also on the Megablast video, I spoke about the Superblast 2 and where that kind of fits in. And we are going to touch a little bit on that today because to give kudos to myself, I think I explained it quite well in that video. So before we get into what's the differences, which one I prefer and all that sort of stuff, let's get into the stats and features of each and briefly look at what each one has. So we'll start with the Superblast 2, which is £195. We've got Flight Foam Turbo Plus, which is the super critical PEBA blended foam. We've got the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco running along the bottom. It weighs 264 grams, UK 9.5, fits true to size, ASICS grip on the outsole, 45mm stacked down to 37, that's an 8mm drop, and we've got the engineered woven upper. Now the new kid in town, the Megablast, is £220 and features the Flight Foam Blast Squares. This is the new aliphatic TPU foam, which is 33% bouncier, 10% softer, all that sort of stuff. Stack height is 45 to 37, which is identical. ASICS grip outsole, engineered woven upper, but the weight's the thing here, 250 grams versus the 264 in the Superblast 2. Right, now let's take a closer look of each. Here's the two uppers, here's the two outsoles. There's your lacing, there's your widths. That's your profiles, front, back. Toe box width, and I think that's about it. Okay, so moving on to sort of the key elements of these two shoes to talk about. Now this could be a little bit unfair because we're talking with the Megablast here and Superblast 3 is going to be coming, right? And Superblast 3, there's rumours about it featuring the, and I've got a pair down here, but we're going to get apparently Leap in there from these shoes, the new Racing Meta Speed. I don't know whether that's true or not. Dual foam setup with some Leap in there, maybe some Flight Foam Turbo or Flight Foam Max, whatever. But basically, the Superblast 2 is the shoe that we're going to compare it because that's the current model. So the Superblast 2 is the king of the running shoe world because it can do or has been able to do pretty much everything. The only thing that has always let this shoe down is at those slightly slower pace. It does become a little bit, and I said it in the Megablast video, a bit chunky, a bit clunky, a little bit cumbersome, and also a little bit loud at those slower paces. And it's not until you pick it up in the Superblast that you really start to get the benefit from it. This Turbo Plus really comes to life the more you lean on it, the more you get into that sort of half marathon or even marathon pace, depends on what you're training for, on those longer miles, is where this shoe comes alive. And everybody who's had a pair pretty much says the same. This is an absolute cruising machine, but at those slightly faster paces, especially if you're training for that marathon. And that's why it's become so popular, because it can pretty much do everything. And I said in the Megablast video, my friend Simon, you know, he pays £200 for a pair of these, has 500 miles in them, and he does all his training in them, and he loves them. You know, he only needs one pair of shoes to do it all. But as I've said, the problem is, the only problem with this shoe, and it gets slightly let down, is because of that sort of cumbersome feeling at those slower speeds. And that's because the Turbo Plus is not as responsive as we now get in the Turbo Squared. And this is the thing with the Megablast. So the Megablast has been able to do all the stuff the Superblast 2 can do, but it also excels at the bits where the Superblast 2 maybe, just marginally, fall down. And I think actually that's the key difference here, right? That's the most important point of this video, is that the Megablast, despite its increased price, actually gives you something a little bit more than the Superblast 2 does. And that's the ability to do all your paces, all your efforts, okay? You could quite comfortably then take this into your marathon or your half marathon. Now again, you could do that in the Superblast 2, but now we've got this new foam in here, this squared Flight Foam Turbo, it's really making a difference. The lightness you can feel versus the Superblast 2. And while it's marginal, 264, 250, whatever, right? It is noticeable on foot, and that bounce that you get and that slightly softer feel from this shoe, that little bit more forgiveness at those slower paces, is a real positive for the Megablast versus this. So I think we sort of end the era with the Superblast 2, because although this is a what's-it load of money, it's actually, well, it's not justifiable, but it's understandable because you can do the little bits that you couldn't necessarily do well in here well, you can do them very well here. And I think that's the best way to sum it up, really, to be honest. Whilst the Superblast 2 remains an unbelievable shoe. I mean, unbelievable shoe, right? ASICS have got two shoes here that, to be honest with you, you can just buy one of these and you can do all your stuff in it. But the new technology in here just gives you the edge over the current Superblast. And that's the best way to end the video. Now, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with Superblast 3. But if I was buying either of these shoes right now, I would buy the Megablast because of the new foam in it, because of the feedback I've had from this midsole. It's genuinely that good. And it's a fond farewell to the Superblast 2 because this has been an unbelievable shoe over the last, year and a bit, whatever it is. But there's a new king in town, people. So I'm excited to see what they do with Superblast 3. But for now, if you're looking for one shoe to do it all, you go out and buy the Megablast. So there we go, guys. I hope that was useful. Maybe it's not, but if it was, let me know in the comments. And also hit that subscribe button. Which do you think out of those two are you going to pull the trigger on? Now, I appreciate that demand's going to outstrip supply and all that sort of stuff. But I think until Superblast 3 comes along, the Megablast, despite the hefty price tag, is definitely the one to go for if you're after one shoe to do it all.